roommate, Aronza, and I'm going to interview with some questions. So what is a social issue that you feel is most difficult for others to adjust or change their minds?
I would say probably like having transgender women participate in sports with women that were born women, just because lots of people may think it's like unfair advantage, and I think it's pretty hard to change someone's mind with like the biological gender side of it, and like, you know, men being born at birth are like biologically stronger than women, so I think it's hard to change people's minds on like what's fair and then what's not. So
what is the reason why this specific social issue causes difficulty in changing our viewpoints?
I would say because for families and like the athletes that are like training really hard every day, for them it's like not fair that they've spent their whole life being like training in this sport, and like if a transgender woman is joining and then like kind of diminishing all that hard work they put into it, I think on their side that's what like why they're very set on that. But on the transgender women's side, it's kind of unfair to them not being able to participate in sports as well. So I think there's definitely compromise that can happen, but obviously like everyone feels pretty firmly on those two sides. So
what role does unconscious implicit bias play in our ability to adjust or change our perspectives, like on this specific situation?
Well, I would say that as a woman, I'm probably more likely to side with women in this situation, just because I've been there, and like I know that it would be unfair for me to be put in a wrestling competition against like a man. So I can only assume that those athletes are feeling the same way. And I would say that transgender people that are going through their transition are probably siding with transgender women, just because they know how it feels to feel left out of certain sports and stuff. So,
and what role do you think tribalism plays in our ability to adjust or change our perspectives?
Well, I would say that your political party probably has a lot to do with it. So maybe like more Republican people and people that were raised more conservative are more against this idea, because it's just something that's like untraditional and not really seen very often in history. And so people that are more liberal are more open to changes. So I would say that has a big part in it.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, the next question is, how do you respond when you realize that you're wrong?
I would say it's kind of hard for me to admit that I'm wrong sometimes, but once I realize that like I'm the one in the wrong and I've made the mistake, I'm usually pretty open-minded about apologizing and like admitting that I was wrong. So yeah.
Give a like specific example of something like you've been wrong about before.
Well, going into college, I didn't really study a bunch in high school, so, you know, tests were kind of easier for me. And so going into my accounting class, I figured that that test would be pretty easy. Didn't really study a lot in advance for it, and I was wrong because it was like college level, really hard class. So yeah, I learned my lesson on that one.
Why do you think that you came to a wrong conclusion? Like, why do you think that you were wrong?
I think just from like past experiences, I'd always made like really good grades in high school without studying a lot in advance. I would study like the day before and like do pretty well. So I think I was pretty accustomed to that, and so that kind of led me to believe it was going to be the same thing in college, but it wasn't.
How did you learn that you were wrong?
By getting a bad grade. Bad result.
And
so
what did that feel like? What did it feel like to be wrong, to realize that you probably should have studied more?
I was just kind of disappointed in myself because all my friends were telling me it was a hard test, like my older friends that had taken the class. And I felt that I knew the material pretty well, and so I didn't really listen to them. And then I quickly realized that the test was a lot more detailed and specific than I thought. So yeah, getting that bad grade I was kicking myself because I had been warned and I hadn't listened. So yeah, it was rough. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for interviewing.
Of course.